I like the Adventure Forward series. It's one of the first Roblox obby games that truly innovated the genre, being heavily inspired by the many 3D Mario games. It was everything I ever wished for and it felt like a very worthwhile experience, even if it wasn't on the same highs as the Mario games. But to be fair, it was 2017 Roblox. That era wasn't as capable as the now. Now, that genre is at its peak, genuinely being able to rival some of the greatest platform games out there, and I have my eyes on Stars Align. I've played the demo and can wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone who loves 3D platformers. It has a mix of that movement from Ahead in Time and the difficulty and level design of Celeste. It's so good that it hurts that it had to be stuck on Roblox. These games really transcend what people perceive Roblox platformers as, which would be great if they weren't so underappreciated. So what do I perceive Roblox platformers as? Well, it's simple. It's just platformer games that use the basic Roblox physics engine. I play JTO, and I can think of it working outside of Roblox. Same with the two Adventure Forward games. They are built with Roblox in mind. I may love Star Alliance, but I do occasionally miss the simplicity of the early Adventure Forward games. If only I could find one that matches the quality of them. Oh, hello there. This is Token Traveler, a game heavily inspired by the Adventure Forward games. You can already tell by just booting up the game. It plays pretty much identically to those games, running on the same unchanged physics engine, and having most of the power-ups from the prior games. It's a tad bit too inspired, but the main thing I want to discuss in this video is primarily the gameplay. I'm going to expect that you already know how a Mario and an Adventure Forward plays like. So I've always considered Adventure Forward 2 to play mostly like a mixture of Mario games. It seems to have the level designs of Sunshine and the power-ups like the Galaxy games. But I don't know where I'm exactly going with this since I've not played either of them yet. Basically, Adventure Forward 2's gameplay is to complete a short linear course to reach a star. Each course tries to introduce a brand new concept, and each world contains 6 main stars, a shard, and 2 red coin stars to collect. Token Traveler is much of the same, excluding the red coin stars and some of the shards. That seems like a loss, especially the shards, which were some of the best parts of AF2. So what does it do to compensate? Well, every single mission still tries to introduce a new concept. And they are also 10 minutes long. Yes, you heard that right, 10 minutes. It's lower if you've perfected it, but I'm not kidding when I say that the worlds are gigantic. It's like 3 Adventure Forward worlds fused into one. This sounds like the gameplay might drag on, but I report back mostly negative. Each mission is fleshed out with much more variety and complexity. It's not just a dash pepper section, it's an invasion runner with turrets and a tense escape sequence. Even some old ideas like the force field power-up and the push box gets more proper and creative usages. It's a bunch of new ideas too. Most of them are in the later worlds, which I will be spoiling later. I found myself pleasantly surprised with how much creative ideas are crammed into one world, packaged in with great level designs, and I've only shown you the first 2 worlds. The next worlds are even better. It's impossible for me to put into words how well made this adventure is. So I'm going to pause myself here and tell you to play the game this instant if you are a fan of the Adventure Forward series or Adventure Obbies in general. Currently it's still in beta, only 7 worlds are available at the moment, but I'm going to be spoiling about everything these 7 worlds have to offer. Give them my praises and criticisms. If I ever convince you to stop, that probably means that I suck at convincing, so I'm going to do it the slow way. Here is a brief analysis of every currently available worlds, what I love and loathe about them. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Redbug. World 1 has one of my favorite takes on a tutorial world. It's an audition, a stage play. Each section has its own movie-like aesthetic following different genres, and each genre corresponds to the select power-up that it will be teaching you about. There's an action thriller set, a robot movie set, and a spooky underground basement. World 1 is relatively light on ideas, just the basics to get you started. If you've played Adventure Forward 2, you should already be familiar with these things. I already mentioned how impressive the level designs were. I'm genuinely shocked with the number of cool ideas that are placed in, like this section in the first mission where you use these moving boxes to get to higher elevation, or the left right sections in Token 3. Token 4 wasn't good. I'm not a fan of stealth sections, but even I can tell that this ain't it, chief. There's more waiting than actual stealth, and when there's stealth, it's not really stealth, it's just its awkward brother, get your eyes checked, which extends to pretty much all the stealth sections, which is not a bad thing though. This style of stealth works best in tight corridors, it's just rather lacking here. Oh, the battery power-up is here too, I guess. Push boxes make a grand return ever since they were introduced all the way back in the first Adventure Forward game, and subsequently botched painfully hard. Thankfully, they've been done justice and they are some of the best pushbox puzzles I've ever experienced. Yes, that's right, fuck you Jado for making me despise a mediocre idea at best. The final token is a boss fight. It's a bit finicky to get through, as getting the boss to stand in the right place is quite janky. Boss fights in this game wildly differ in execution, so I couldn't really consider this a tutorial boss. The sharp challenges like in AF2 would be a nicer bow to tie this tutorial chapter, but I can't be upset at a simple boss fight. A lot of the worlds here share similar theming with a couple of worlds from the Adventure Forward games. For instance, this world is similar to World 3 of AF2, while World 3 of this game is closer to World 1 of AF1. But they aren't cheap copies. Every mission has been given their own looks and charms related to a main theming. I've already praised the first world for it, and not once has it dropped that speciality. If you couldn't already tell, there's a focus on slipperiness in this world. Almost all the courses use that, some effectively, some lacklusterly. Token 1 has the best usage of the slippery floor. It's paired with a wind gimmick for another waiting section. The rest are used as more of a minor annoyance and a don't go over here spot. Yeah, I totally lied about ice being a main focus, but what are you gonna do? Shoot me? Token 4 and 6 are the highlights of this chapter. 1, because Token 6 is a dash pepper section, a really good one at that, and 2, Token 4's introductory of a new power-up, that being a throwable power-up. The early uses for this power-up aren't as interesting nor as intense as its later usage. This is more of an opportunity to understand how these nuts work. If not, this mission has a lot more overlaps with the previous Token 4 than I imagined. I think they should have gone for a shooting gallery gameplay, which they did do that but only by the end. While there aren't any lowlights on this chapter, there's an unfortunate trend that plagues this and the other worlds. I'm sure by the second or third mission it gets annoying already. It's the long walk to the central point. The start of the map is placed in an awkward section that will waste you a couple of sections after every star completion. It's like Mario 64 all over again, but now it's injected into the map design. I get that it's there to teach players a mechanic they may or may not have missed, or in the case of the newer worlds, teach a completely new mechanic. But there are way better solutions than this. I really felt that this world and beyond started to play around with gameplay variety. There's still of course your usual jump courses or dash pepper sections, but now there's a couple of maze-like missions, stealth missions, and pushbox missions. It really makes each mission stand out more, which was one of the more weaker elements of the Adventure Forward games, which focused more on obstacle variety. It reminds me of A Hat in Time, which leans very much into the crazy ideas over the basics, which does create lesser polish, but it's so much more memorable that way. This world has some of the consistently strongest level designs the game has to offer. My favorites were Token 3 Deforestation and Token 6 Bramble Brawl. Token 3 is a simple pushbox puzzle. It has the right amount of complexities and does a great job at teaching its mechanics. It also has my favorite NPCs, which are all based around the Builders Club. Token 6 showcases another feature of the Acorn, in a highly intense shooter section. It's like one of those previous missions now without the help of the dash pepper. It still aids you like these additions of the spinning platforms and blockades, but the power is now in your hands. It's like Doom, you know. There's also a boss fight, but I have not much to say. Its patterns are a little weird, and it seems nearly impossible to not take damage in its second phase. The boss hitboxes are thankfully really generous, but you could still miss if you weren't prepared for the spin attack. World 4 was a mixed bag for me. It still had a few great missions, but it had more low points more than any other world. The hub, for starters, is way too big and way too empty. All the missions are placed at the very edge, with not a single one using this middle section. Dash peppers are used as a band-aid solution, but it doesn't fix the emptiness of this hub. I felt that this area could use a shrinking, but I like the idea to incorporate the Mario Sunshine portals around the map much better. Token 3 Buoyant Resort was unsalvageable. The whole thing was a boring walk fest and I didn't collect any footage of it because I skipped all of it. The only interesting thing it did was adding a new mechanic for the battery. Did I even mention what the battery did? Oh, forget it. Token 6 Iron Harbor is a bullet hell mission. This level isn't bad, it's quite cool actually, but if you've played this level already, then you should know about that part. No, I don't have a problem with the bullet patterns. It's everything else about it. The locked camera zoom, the platform's minuscule size, and this momentum. It creates a very frustrating and unpolished section. Creator, please nerf it. On the contrary, the other missions are pretty solid. Token 2 Below the Sea is a different take on the pushbox gameplay. Token 5 Castaway Island is a mixed power-up mission, which apparently there's none in AF2. Like, I could have sworn there was a Dash Pepper and Battery mix, but I couldn't find it. Token 4 Coral Reef was a highlight of this world, even though it shares the same power-up as Token 1 for some reason. It starts off pretty mundane, but gets more interesting when it starts to play with the tide elevations. I particularly like the final section, which splits its two main gameplays into two separate pathways that lead to the same point. It's unnecessary level design flex, since we all know that the right path is the objectively correct choice, and only incorrect people choose the left path. I've never seen a game glow up as large as when World 5 released. This world is the most experimental and idea-driven, with a neat aesthetic that clearly took a lot of inspiration from AF2's Paradise World, one of my favorite worlds from that game. The best part is that the level designs are still on top, except for maybe Token 2 Gravity Gear, which went for a much simpler layout due to the funny quirks of being upside down. The game even added an NPC to tell you that. Great game design, I know. I'm having a hard time trying to put the things I love about this world into words. There's simply too much to talk about, and if I proceed, it's going to turn into a pyrocynical video. So I'm going to try something new. I'll be showcasing clips of my favorite parts of each mission, in true montage fashion. Enjoy! A few criticisms. I felt that this world had quite a difficulty spike, especially with the final parts of Token 3, 4, and 6. The vehicle in Token 6 gets particularly finicky to control when on conveyors, which makes this part quite annoying to get through. Clearly the Marble's still the best convertible. Infested Lab is hands down my favorite world. It combines the types of ideas from World 5 with the exceptional level designs of World 3 and a fantastic world design to top it all off. All of the missions here would genuinely be on my top 10, except for maybe Token 4, but that's only because I'm biased with slow gameplay. The rest of this world blew my expectations. Token 2 Loose Subject and Token 3 Incubations are my top 2s, but I'd like to give a few nods to the other missions first. Token 1 Into the Hive finally uses a mechanic that showed up in World 1 and a bit in World 3. It has a mini-boss too if this mission wasn't already full of surprises. Token 5 Recycling Sector is another dash mapper mission. No need for an explanation. Checkpoints are extremely scarce here, with the final section taking a whole 2 minutes just to complete. Getting through this was super gratifying, and Token 6 is a simple laser dodging section. Nothing much to add sadly. Token 2 is part stealth mission, but unlike every other stealth mission, getting caught doesn't kill you. It spawns the thing that's going to. This isn't for show either. If you've seen the dash peppers, you can get a good idea on what happens next. Yes, it is also part dash pepper mission. This addition creates such a unique scenario where failing the stealth section doesn't immediately kill the pace. Your death is now determined by how hard you can ball. But if you can't, that's fine, you can always remain doing the stealth part. Too bad optional says otherwise. Intentionally get caught and say goodbye to slow gameplay. Token 3 is an escort mission, out of all things. You have to secure a pathway for Dr. Heather to move to the next section. Now where this mission really starts going is when the spider bots return. I hope you're good at multitasking because now you'll have to keep track of Heather and your health. The bots can also hurt Heather, but it's not that difficult at all to keep her alive. I love this idea a lot. It's similar with the previous ones in that it could be removed and you'd still have a pretty complete mission, but its addition adds a lot more depth to it. Oh, and since this world is another multiple of 3, a complimentary boss fight is provided to ease consumers. This boss is tough. It has 3 attacks being a Scythe, a Summon, and Thunder. It gains a new variant of the Scythe attack after being hit once, and the second hit lets it use 2 attacks at once. A few tips: its Scythe attack has a sound cue, and its Thunder can target on column 2 and 4. You'll have to master the patterns, but it's the most polished and satisfying boss to get through. World 7 sadly wasn't as good as the previous 2. It had a lot more middle-of-the-road ideas such as Token 4 or the 2 pushbox missions. Yes, 2! I am greatly and deeply hurt. Token 1 Scrap Hunter and Token 2 Factory Floor were a slog to get through. They are both pushback sections at heart, but one of them makes you bulldozer certified, and the other transforms into a Mario Party minigame. I felt that Token 1 drags on for too long and could be shortened down by one building. It's the same with Token 2. These sections don't offer much creative variety and gets old real fast. Token 4 Energy Grid is another maze-like mission, now with more annoyances. Same argument applies here. Same part over Stasis welcome, but it has a much more interesting secondary gameplay which should have been the mainstay. The rest were quite excellent. Token 5 Glass Skyscrapers feels like something straight out of 3D World. It doesn't really do much with the 2D parts, it feels more like cosmetic than anything. The best they did was barricading your view, but it functioned like any time section would. Fortunately, all arguments are invalid because the bestest NPC can be found in this area. Token 3 Old Clockworks is another high-intensity acorn mission, now with these things from Mario Galaxy, I think, but I mainly remember them from 3D World. Wow, I think that's like the 3rd mention of that game. Anyways, I enjoyed their usage as both obstacles and progression. More games should really do this. Token 6 Steamworks is a neat evolution for the bullet hell missions. It has a well-combined wind gimmick and a much better difficulty balancing. It is still one of the easier ones. I personally haven't had that much trouble on it, but that isn't to say that it should be put in earlier. It deserved its spot here, and it has a great atmosphere and great set pieces. And with that, the whole thing is done. Actually, I haven't discussed about the main lobby and the story, but those are yet to be concluded and I kinda need them completed to be able to properly judge them. The main lobby has the exact same problem with the hub area of World 4, which is extra funny knowing that the in-game NPCs complain about it. I'd like to see hidden stars from AF1 return in some form, which can act as a reward for exploring the lobby. The story so far seems to be the same as AF1 so far. There's a great evil. Collect tokens to banish them, maybe, hopefully. There's an NPC that exposits a lore that strikes way too close to the exact story from AF1, which I'm hoping that they don't go that path and choose a more original ending. Either way, Token Traveler has already exceeded most of my expectations and it's something that I wholeheartedly recommend. I still think it doesn't beat Adventure 4 2 in terms of world variety, storytelling, and music choice, but it really outdid in the gameplay department, which is what I'm really here for. Go check it out, it's amazing. It's one hell of a successor to the Adventure Forward series.